The Power of One Decision. Chapter 1. The Hidden Power Inside One Person. Every great shift in history and every lasting achievement began with a single individual who chose to act. You are that one person right now. The world does not change through crowds or grand systems first. It changes when one mind decides that enough is enough and one heart commits to a better direction. Your life is the sum of decisions you have already made and the ones still ahead. Recognize this truth. You hold the steering wheel. No matter your starting point, one clear decision can redirect everything. Today, pause and declare to yourself, I am the one. My next choice matters. That single acknowledgement awakens the force already within you. Look around at the world we inhabit. Every invention that lights our homes, every principle that shapes our laws, every movement that lifted humanity forward started in the quiet conviction of one person. The explorer who first stepped onto unknown shores did not wait for a committee to approve the voyage. The thinker who challenged accepted beliefs and opened new realms of understanding did not seek permission from the majority. The leader who stood against injustice when the cost was high did not poll the room for consensus before speaking. In each case, one individual made a decision that set a new course not only for their own life, but for countless others who followed. You carry that same capacity inside you today. It does not require special circumstances, perfect timing, or external validation. It requires only the willingness to recognize that you are the one who can choose differently. Consider your own life for a moment. Where you stand right now, in your relationships, your work, your health, your sense of purpose, is the direct result of a series of decisions, both large and small, that you have made over time. Some of those decisions were made consciously, with clear intention. Others were made by default, simply by allowing days to pass without deliberate choice. The beauty and the power of this truth is that the future remains open. The next decision you make can begin to rewrite the story from this moment forward. This is not about waiting for motivation to strike or for conditions to become ideal. It is about understanding that the power of one person lies dormant until activated by a single, firm decision. History is filled with ordinary individuals who, at a pivotal moment, decided to act. One person decided to write down ideas that challenged the status quo and sparked revolutions in thought. One person decided to persist through repeated failures until a breakthrough emerged that transformed daily life for millions. One person decided to speak up for what was right, even when silence would have been easier and safer. In each instance, the decision itself was the spark. The results that followed grew from that initial choice and the consistent decisions that came after it. You do not need to be famous, wealthy, or exceptionally talented to access this power. The hidden power inside one person is available to anyone who chooses to claim it. It begins with a quiet but profound shift in perspective. Instead of seeing yourself as someone swept along by circumstances, you begin to see yourself as the author of your responses to those circumstances. You hold the steering wheel. This realization brings both freedom and responsibility. Freedom, because you are no longer powerless to change your direction. Responsibility, because once you recognize this truth, inaction becomes a choice you can no longer comfortably hide behind. Pause right now and take a deep breath. Feel the simple truth settle in your mind and body. You are the one. Your next choice matters. Say it silently or aloud if you can. I am the one. My next choice matters. Let these words sink deep into your awareness. They are not mere affirmations. They are a declaration of ownership over your life. When you truly accept that you are the one, excuses lose their grip. Blame loses its appeal. Waiting for the perfect moment loses its logic. What remains is the clean, clear space where decisive action can take root. Consider how this power shows up in everyday moments. A single decision to respond with patience instead of anger can heal a strained relationship. A single decision to begin a new habit today instead of tomorrow can set in motion improved health and energy that compounds over months and years. A single decision to learn a new skill or take on a challenging project can open doors you did not even know existed. These are not dramatic, headline-making choices at first. They are quiet, personal decisions that accumulate. Yet each one proves the same principle. One person making one right decision creates momentum that changes everything. The power of one person is magnified when that individual understands the compounding nature of decisions. One decision leads to another. The first choice builds confidence. The second builds evidence of progress. The third begins to reshape identity. Before long, what once felt difficult becomes natural. What once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. This is how ordinary people accomplish extraordinary things. They do not rely on a single heroic act. They rely on the steady accumulation of right decisions, one after another, each one reinforcing the last. Many people spend years searching outside themselves for the key to a better life. They look for the right program, the right mentor, the right opportunity, or the right set of circumstances. While helpful resources can support the journey, the true starting point is always internal. It is the decision to begin. It is the decision to persist. It is the decision to adjust course when needed without giving up. When you embrace the truth that you are the one, the search ends. The power was never missing. It was simply waiting for you to claim it through conscious choice. Think of the courage required for that first decision. Fear will almost certainly appear. Doubt will whisper that you are not ready or that the risk is too great. This is natural and expected. The hidden power inside one person does not eliminate fear. It acts in spite of fear. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to move forward anyway. Every meaningful achievement in human history bears witness to this pattern. The individual who decided to act did so while fear was present, not after it had vanished. Your next right decision will likely require the same courage. Welcome that feeling as a sign that you are on the threshold of something important. As you move through this chapter, allow the idea to settle deeply. Your life is the sum of your decisions. This truth liberates you from the illusion that external forces alone determine your destiny. While you cannot control every event that occurs around you, you can always control how you respond. You can decide what meaning to assign to events. You can decide what action to take next. You can decide to learn from every outcome. In these choices lies your true power. No circumstance, no past mistake, no current limitation can take this away unless you surrender it through indecision. Today is the perfect day to begin exercising this power. You do not need a grand plan or perfect clarity about the distant future. You only need to make one clear decision right now. It might be the decision to read the rest of this book with full attention. It might be the decision to address one lingering issue you have been avoiding. It might be the decision to reach out to someone important or to set aside time for quiet reflection. Whatever it is, make it specific and actionable. Then honor it. Feel the quiet strength that comes from following through. That feeling is the hidden power awakening. Remember that you are not alone in this journey, even though the power begins with one. Every person who has ever created meaningful change started exactly where you are, as one individual making one decision. They did not wait until they felt completely ready. They decided, then grew into the person capable of carrying that decision forward. You can do the same. The world needs more people who understand this truth. It needs more individuals willing to step forward, as the one who chooses a better direction. As this chapter closes, carry these words with you. Every great shift began with one person who chose to act. You are that person right now. Hold the steering wheel firmly. Recognize that your next choice matters more than you may yet realize. Declare it internally with conviction. I am the one. My next choice matters. Let this acknowledgement awaken the force already within you. From this moment forward, decisions are no longer random events. They become the deliberate building blocks of the life, the leadership, and the legacy you are here to create. One person, one decision, everything can change. The power has always been yours. The only question remaining is what you will decide next. Chapter 2. Why one single decision can alter your entire path. A decision is far more than a fleeting thought passing through the mind. It represents a genuine turning point in time, a deliberate moment when one individual chooses a new direction and sets forces into motion that can reshape the course of an entire life. When made with genuine clarity and courage, even one seemingly modest choice functions much like a stone dropped into a perfectly still body of water. The initial splash may appear small, yet the ripples spread outward in ever-widening circles. These ripples move in directions you cannot always predict in advance, yet their effects will reach you and touch the shores of your future experience in ways both subtle and profound. Consider how many pivotal moments in human history trace back to a single decision made by one person. An explorer standing on the shore might have faced countless reasons to remain on familiar ground: the dangers of unknown seas, the skepticism of others, the comfort of home. Yet when that explorer decided to set sail anyway, the choice opened pathways to new continents, new knowledge, and new possibilities for entire civilizations. The decision did not magically guarantee smooth sailing or immediate triumph. Storms arose, supplies ran low, and doubt crept in during long nights at sea. Still, that initial commitment created the conditions for every subsequent choice that followed, adjusting the course by the stars, rationing resources wisely, and persisting through hardship until land appeared on the horizon. The same principle appears in the story of an inventor, laboring in a modest workshop. Countless experiments may have failed before, each one bringing frustration and the temptation to abandon the effort. Yet there comes a moment when the inventor decides to try one more time, despite exhaustion and repeated setbacks. That single act of resolve keeps the work alive. It allows for one more adjustment, one more observation, and ultimately one breakthrough that changes how people live, communicate, or heal. The first decision to persist does not deliver success on its own, but it unlocks the chain of smaller decisions that compound into something transformative. Leadership offers equally clear illustrations. A leader facing pressure from all sides might recognize that speaking truth carries risk, the possibility of conflict, loss of favor, or personal cost. Silence often feels safer in the moment. Yet when that leader decides to speak with honesty and conviction anyway, the choice reverberates far beyond the immediate conversation. It models integrity for others, shifts the tone of discussions, and sometimes alters the direction of entire groups or movements. The decision itself does not remove every obstacle, but it opens a path where compound decisions, standing firm in follow-through, adapting strategies with wisdom, and inspiring collective effort can unfold. Your own path operates under exactly the same laws of human agency. No matter where you stand today, whether in a season of uncertainty, routine comfort, or quiet dissatisfaction, one clear decision holds the potential to redirect everything that comes afterward. The circumstances around you may feel fixed or overwhelming, yet the power to choose your response and your next step remains yours alone. Many people wait for perfect conditions before moving forward, the ideal time, complete confidence, external approval, or guaranteed success. Those conditions rarely arrive on their own. Waiting often becomes a hidden decision to remain unchanged. Instead, identify one specific area of your life where you have been pausing, hesitating, or seeking permission that may never come. Perhaps it concerns your health and daily habits, a strained relationship that needs honest conversation, a creative pursuit you have set aside, or a professional step you have contemplated but never taken. Look honestly at the reasons you have delayed, then make the decision to move anyway. Commit to the first small action that aligns with the direction you truly desire. The past does not need to reveal its full length in advance. It reveals itself step by step, only after you take the initial one. This truth rests on a deep understanding of how human lives actually unfold. Every day consists of countless small choices, yet certain decisions function as hinges. They swing the door of possibility open or keep it closed. Ancient philosophers recognized this long ago when they taught that we possess power over our own judgments and actions, even when external events lie beyond our control. One decision to focus attention differently, to respond with greater steadiness, or to act with purpose can shift the entire quality of experience that follows. Imagine waking tomorrow and deciding that today will mark the beginning of consistent effort toward a meaningful aim. You might choose to rise earlier and use the quiet morning hours for reflection or planning. Or you might decide to reach out and repair a connection that has grown distant. Or you might commit to learning a new skill through steady daily practice, rather than waiting for motivation to strike. None of these choices guarantees effortless progress or immediate dramatic results. What they do guarantee is the opening of a new sequence. The first decision builds a foundation of personal accountability. The second decision, made in light of the first, strengthens resolve. Each subsequent choice gains momentum from those that came before it. The beauty and challenge of this process lie in its simplicity. One decision requires no vast resources, no special talents, and no approval from the outside world. It asks only for your willingness to choose with intention. Fear may still whisper warnings. Doubt may question whether the effort will matter. Yet courage is not the absence of fear, it is the choice to act in its presence. When you decide, despite the inner resistance, you prove to yourself that you are capable of directing your life rather than drifting through it. History and personal experience both confirm that paths diverge most sharply at the points of decision. The person who decides to speak up in a meeting plants seeds of influence that may grow into leadership opportunities. The individual who decides to forgive a past grievance frees mental energy that can then flow toward creative or productive ends. The one who decides to honor a commitment to physical well-being, even on difficult days, gradually builds vitality that supports every other area of life. These are not magical transformations. They are the natural consequences of one choice creating space for the next. Reflect for a moment on your own story. Consider a time when a single decision, perhaps made quietly and without fanfare, altered the direction you were traveling. Maybe you chose to accept a challenging opportunity instead of playing it safe. Maybe you decided to walk away from a situation that no longer served your growth. Or maybe you simply decided to believe in your own capacity when evidence around you suggested otherwise. Looking back, you can likely trace how that one choice led to new relationships, skills, insights, or strengths that would not have emerged otherwise. The same mechanism operates in the present. Right now, you stand at the threshold of countless possible futures. The one that unfolds will depend less on external luck and more on the quality of the decisions you make starting today. Begin by selecting one area that matters deeply to you. Write down a clear statement of the decision you are willing to make. Speak it to yourself with conviction. Then take the first tangible step, however modest it may seem. Trust that the ripples will spread. Some will bring unexpected support or opportunities. Others will test your commitment and teach you resilience. All of that will contribute to the person you are becoming. One single decision cannot rewrite every page of your past, nor does it remove every future challenge. What it does is establish a new starting point from which compound decisions can carry you forward. It shifts your identity from someone who waits to someone who acts. Over time, this shift accumulates into profound change, greater clarity of purpose, stronger self-trust, and a life that reflects your deliberate choices rather than default circumstances. The explorer did not discover new lands the moment the ship left port, but the decision to depart made discovery possible. The inventor did not achieve the breakthrough on the first attempt, but the decision to continue made the breakthrough attainable. The leader did not transform a group with one speech alone, but the decision to speak truthfully set the foundation for lasting influence. Your situation follows the same pattern. The path reveals itself only after the first step. Make the decision to take it. The ripples will carry you farther than you can currently see, and the life that unfolds will bear the mark of your courage to choose. In the quiet moments when doubt arises, remember this central truth: you are the one capable of deciding. No external force can make the choice for you, and no external force can take that power away. One decision, rooted in clarity and courage, holds the potential to alter your entire path. Honor that potential today. Decide. Then watch as the next right choices become clearer and more natural in the light of the first. Your future is not written in stone. It is shaped by the decisions you dare to make, one at a time, beginning now. Chapter 3. The Cost of Hesitation. Breaking Free from Decision Paralysis. Indecision is a silent thief that operates in the shadows of everyday life. It steals precious time, quietly erodes personal confidence, and repeatedly blocks opportunities that might otherwise transform your circumstances. All the while, it disguises itself as a prudent guardian, whispering that waiting a little longer will keep you safe from mistakes or discomfort. In reality, this thief extracts a far higher price than any single wrong choice ever could. Every moment you spend weighing options without committing to a clear course of action becomes a decision of its own. It is a decision to remain exactly where you are, to accept the status quo, and to let life continue unfolding without your deliberate influence. This passive choice accumulates over days, weeks, and years, gradually shaping a life marked by unrealized potential and quiet regret. Consider how often people find themselves trapped in cycles of endless analysis. They examine every possible outcome, seek more information, consult others repeatedly, and still delay the moment of commitment. What begins as thoughtful consideration slowly hardens into paralysis. The mind grows heavy with competing possibilities. Fear of regret clouds judgment, and the window for meaningful action narrows until it closes entirely. During this process, opportunities slip away unnoticed. A promising connection fades because a timely response never comes. A personal goal loses its urgency because consistent effort never begins. A leadership moment passes because the decisive word remains unspoken. These losses rarely announce themselves with drama. Instead, they accumulate as a subtle sense of stagnation, a lingering feeling that life is happening around you rather than through your active participation. The true cost of hesitation reveals itself most clearly when measured against the steady forward motion that decisive action creates. Time lost to indecision cannot be recovered. Each day spent in limbo is a day that could have been invested in building skills, strengthening relationships, or advancing meaningful projects. Confidence diminishes with every avoided choice because self-trust weakens when you repeatedly prove to yourself that you cannot be relied upon to act. Opportunities vanish because the world moves forward regardless of your readiness. While you deliberate, others decide. While you hesitate, momentum shifts elsewhere. The cumulative effect is a life that feels smaller than it could have been, limited not by external barriers, but by the internal habit of postponing commitment. Hesitation also carries hidden emotional and psychological burdens. Prolonged indecision generates anxiety that simmers beneath daily routines. The mind replays the same unanswered questions, creating mental fatigue that spills into other areas of life. Sleep suffers, focus scatters, and simple tasks feel heavier than they should. Over time, this pattern can foster a deeper sense of helplessness, as if external forces alone determine your path. Yet the opposite is true. The heaviest cost of hesitation is the gradual surrender of personal agency. Each time you choose delay over decision, you hand control of your direction to circumstance, chance, or the decisions of others. In contrast, even an imperfect decision restores a sense of ownership. It reminds you that you possess the power to shape events rather than merely react to them. Accepting that no decision is ever entirely risk-free marks the beginning of liberation from this cycle. Every choice carries some element of uncertainty because the future remains unknown. Attempting to eliminate all risk through endless preparation is an illusion that only prolongs paralysis. The wiser approach recognizes that hesitation itself represents the greatest risk of all. It guarantees missed chances, diminished self-respect, and a future defined by what might have been rather than what you actively created. Once you internalize this truth, hesitation loses much of its persuasive power. You begin to see it not as protection, but as a costly avoidance tactic that keeps you smaller than your capabilities allow. Training yourself to recognize the precise moment when paralysis sets in becomes a valuable skill that can be developed through consistent awareness. Notice the physical and mental signals that accompany indecision. Your thoughts may begin looping through the same arguments without resolution. Your energy may feel scattered or drained. A subtle tension might settle in your shoulders or chest, signaling internal conflict. You might catch yourself saying phrases such as, "I need more time," or "I will decide later," when the necessary information is already available. These are clear indicators that hesitation has taken hold. The moment you detect them, interrupt the pattern deliberately. Bring your attention fully into the present and ask yourself a single, practical question. What is the smallest decisive action I can take right now that moves me forward? This question serves as a powerful bridge from paralysis to momentum. It shifts focus away from the overwhelming big picture and toward one manageable step. The action does not need to be dramatic or perfect. It might involve sending a single message, scheduling a short conversation, writing the first paragraph of a plan, or simply standing up and beginning a new habit for 5 minutes. The key is that it constitutes a clear choice rather than continued waiting. Taking that smallest step immediately begins to dissolve the grip of hesitation. Movement creates clarity that analysis alone rarely provides. As you act, new information emerges, confidence rebuilds, and the next logical step often becomes obvious. Momentum begins the instant you choose. Once the first decisive action occurs, a psychological shift takes place. The brain registers the completion of a choice and rewards you with a subtle sense of accomplishment. This positive reinforcement makes the next decision easier. What felt impossible moments earlier now appears approachable. Each subsequent action builds upon the last, creating a chain reaction that gathers speed. Hesitation ends the moment you decide because the cycle of overthinking breaks when replaced by forward motion. You prove to yourself through direct experience that you are capable of choosing and adjusting as needed. This proof accumulates, gradually replacing the habit of delay with the habit of decisive action. Practical strategies can help strengthen this transition from hesitation to decisive movement. Begin by limiting the time you allocate to initial consideration. Set a reasonable boundary, such as 30 minutes, for gathering essential information. Then commit to making a choice. If emotions run high, create a brief pause for calm reflection rather than endless rumination. Write down the core pros and cons on paper to externalize the mental clutter. Then set the list aside and choose based on your best judgment at that moment. Remind yourself regularly that imperfect action almost always outperforms perfect inaction. Celebrate each small decisive step, no matter how modest, to reinforce the new pattern. Over weeks and months, these practices rewire your natural response to uncertainty, making decisiveness your default mode rather than hesitation. Real-world examples illustrate the transformative difference between hesitation and decisive action. History and personal stories alike show individuals who reached a tipping point and simply chose to move forward despite incomplete information or personal doubts. One person decides to leave an unfulfilling situation and opens the door to entirely new possibilities. Another chooses to speak up in a meeting and discovers leadership qualities previously unrecognized. A third commits to a daily practice despite initial resistance and watches small improvements compound into remarkable change. In each case, the initial decision appeared ordinary, yet it set in motion a cascade of further choices that reshaped their trajectory. The common thread is the willingness to end hesitation and begin acting. Their lives did not improve because conditions became perfect. They improved because one person decided to stop waiting and start shaping events. Breaking free from decision paralysis ultimately restores a profound sense of freedom. You no longer feel at the mercy of external circumstances or internal fears. Instead, you reclaim the natural authority that belongs to every individual willing to choose. Life regains its sense of possibility because you understand that your next decision holds genuine power. Challenges become opportunities to practice this skill rather than reasons to retreat. Relationships deepen when you bring decisive presence rather than chronic uncertainty. Leadership emerges naturally as others observe your ability to choose clearly and follow through. Most importantly, you develop an inner steadiness that persists through changing conditions, because your confidence rests on your proven capacity to decide and adapt. As you move through this chapter, remember that the cost of hesitation is paid daily in small, invisible installments, until the total becomes painfully apparent. In contrast, the rewards of decisive action accumulate just as quietly, but lead to visible growth, renewed energy, and expanding influence. The antidote remains straightforward. Recognize hesitation when it arises, accept the inherent uncertainty of any choice, and immediately identify the smallest decisive step available to you. Then, take that step without further delay. Momentum begins the instant you choose. Hesitation ends the moment you decide. Each time you break the cycle, you strengthen the muscle of personal agency. Over time, this practice transforms you into the kind of person who navigates life with clarity and purpose, rather than regret and delay. The power to change your path has always resided in your willingness to make one decision at a time. Begin exercising that power today, and watch how quickly hesitation loses its hold while decisive action opens doors you once believed were closed. Chapter 4. The 4 elements of a masterful decision. Every powerful decision rests on 4 timeless pillars that have guided effective human action across centuries of philosophy, strategy, and leadership. These 4 elements work together like the legs of a sturdy table. When all 4 are present and strong, your decision stands firm and carries real force. When one or more are missing, even the best intentions can collapse under pressure. The 4 pillars are clarity of purpose, honest assessment, courage to act, and commitment to follow through. Mastering them turns ordinary choices into masterful ones that shape your life and influence those around you. You do not need complex systems or outside tools. These pillars live inside you and can be strengthened through deliberate practice, beginning with the smallest daily decisions. The first pillar is clarity of purpose. This means knowing exactly what you truly want, not what others expect, not what seems impressive on the surface, but what genuinely matters to your deepest values and vision for your life. Without clarity, decisions become scattered, like arrows shot without a target. You waste energy moving in multiple directions at once, or you hesitate because every option feels equally uncertain. Clarity cuts through the noise. It asks you to look inward and answer simple yet profound questions. What outcome would truly satisfy me? What kind of person do I want to become through this choice? What larger direction does this decision serve? When you achieve real clarity, your purpose acts like a compass needle that points steadily toward true north, even when the path ahead looks foggy. For example, if you face a decision about how to spend your evening, clarity might reveal that what you truly want is not endless scrolling or distraction, but rather rest that restores your energy or connection that strengthens a relationship. With that clarity, the right choice becomes obvious. Clarity of purpose is not a one-time flash of insight. It is cultivated by regularly pausing to reflect on your core desires. Over time, this reflection trains your mind to recognize what aligns with your authentic self and what does not. Start small. Today, before making any minor choice, ask yourself what you truly want from the next hour. The more you practice naming your true desire with honesty, the sharper your sense of purpose becomes. Clarity turns vague wishes into focused intention, and focused intention gives your decisions power and direction. This is the willingness to face the real situation exactly as it stands, without wishful thinking, without exaggeration, and without hiding uncomfortable truths from yourself. Many decisions fail not because the choice was wrong, but because it was built on a distorted view of reality. People often see only what they hope to see, or only the parts that feel comfortable. Honest assessment demands courage to look squarely at the facts. Where do I actually stand right now? What resources do I truly have? What obstacles are genuinely present? What have I contributed to the current situation, both good and bad? This pillar requires humility because it may reveal that you have been avoiding certain realities or overestimating your readiness. Yet facing the truth is liberating. It prevents you from building castles on sand. When you assess honestly, you gain a solid foundation for your decision. You understand the gap between where you are and where you want to go, and you can choose actions that actually bridge that gap rather than actions based on fantasy. Consider a simple daily example. Suppose you decide to improve your physical vitality. Honest assessment means acknowledging exactly how much movement you have been getting, what foods you have been choosing, and how rested you feel, without excuses or self-deception. Only then can you select the next right step that fits your actual circumstances. Honest assessment is a skill that grows with practice. Each time you catch yourself softening the truth or adding hopeful spin, gently correct course and restate the facts plainly. Over weeks and months, this practice sharpens your perception like polishing a lens. You begin to see situations more accurately, and your decisions become more reliable because they rest on solid ground rather than illusion. Without honest assessment, even the clearest purpose can lead you astray. With it, your choices gain strength and realism. The third pillar is courage to act. Even with perfect clarity and honest assessment, a decision remains powerless until you choose forward motion despite the presence of fear, doubt, or discomfort. Courage here does not mean the absence of fear. It means deciding to move while fear is still present. Fear is a natural signal from your mind that something important is at stake. It alerts you to potential loss, uncertainty, or the unknown. Many people wait for fear to disappear before they act, but that day rarely arrives. Instead, masterful decision makers learn to feel the fear and choose action anyway. Courage is the bridge between intention and motion. It says, I see the risk, I feel the unease, and I still take the step. This pillar is especially vital because the right decision often feels uncomfortable at first. It may require you to leave familiar territory, speak up when silence feels safer, or begin something new when staying the same seems easier. Courage grows through small, repeated acts. You do not need to leap off mountains immediately. Start by making one slightly uncomfortable but positive choice each day. Choose to speak honestly in a conversation where you would normally stay quiet. Choose to begin a task you have been postponing, even if only for 10 minutes. Each time you act despite fear, you prove to yourself that you can handle discomfort. Your confidence expands. The next courageous choice becomes a little easier. Over time, courage becomes a habit rather than a rare event. Remember that every leader who ever made a difference felt fear before their pivotal decisions. What set them apart was their willingness to act while the fear was still alive. Courage transforms your decision from a mere mental exercise into real-world movement. Without courage, clarity and assessment remain trapped in thought. With courage, they become the beginning of meaningful change. The fourth and final pillar is commitment to follow through. This means refusing to abandon your choice when challenges, setbacks, or unexpected difficulties arise. Many decisions start strong, but fade the moment the first obstacle appears. Commitment is the glue that holds the other three pillars together over time. It declares, I have chosen this path, and I will stay with it long enough to see what it can produce. Commitment does not mean stubbornness or ignoring new information. It means persisting through temporary discomfort while remaining open to wise adjustments. It asks you to anticipate that obstacles will come and to decide in advance that you will not quit at the first sign of trouble. Follow-through builds character and credibility, both with yourself and with others. When you keep your commitments, you train your mind to trust your own word. This self-trust becomes a powerful inner resource for future decisions. In practical terms, commitment looks like setting clear next steps after the initial choice, and then protecting time and energy to complete them. It looks like reviewing your decision regularly without second-guessing it every hour. It looks like reminding yourself of your original clarity of purpose when motivation dips. For instance, if you decide to dedicate time each morning to quiet reflection and planning, commitment means showing up even on mornings when you feel tired or when other tasks seem more urgent. Small acts of follow-through compound. They turn one decision into a series of decisions that reinforce each other. Without commitment, the first three pillars lose their impact because the decision never gets tested in reality. With strong commitment, even imperfect decisions can yield great results because you give them time to unfold and you learn from the process. When these four pillars, clarity of purpose, honest assessment, courage to act, and commitment to follow through, align, your decision becomes a true force in your life. The pillars support and strengthen one another. Clarity guides honest assessment. Honest assessment informs where courage is most needed. Courage initiates the action that commitment then sustains. Together, they create decisions that are focused, realistic, bold, and enduring. The beauty of this framework is that it works at every scale. You can apply it to tiny daily choices and to life-changing ones alike. The more you practice on small matters, the more natural the pillars feel when larger decisions arrive. Begin today by selecting one small decision you will make before the day ends. Choose what you will focus on, what you will deliberately let go of to protect your attention, and what single action you will complete no matter what. Walk through each pillar consciously. Ask yourself, what do I truly want here? What is the real situation? Am I willing to act despite any unease? Am I committed to following through? Notice how applying the four elements changes the quality of your choice and your confidence in it. Repeat this practice daily. You will discover that masterful decisions are not reserved for extraordinary people. They are available to anyone who builds these four pillars through consistent, intentional use. Small decisions mastered today prepare you for the larger ones tomorrow. Over weeks and months, you will see your life shift as one right decision cascades into another, building momentum, self-trust, and visible results. The power of one decision multiplies when it rests on these four timeless elements. You already possess the capacity to strengthen each pillar. Start now. Choose with clarity, assess with honesty, act with courage, and follow through with commitment. Your next masterful decision awaits your deliberate attention, and the life it can create is limited only by how consistently you apply these four pillars. Chapter 5. Creating your personal decision framework. You do not need complicated systems or elaborate tools to make powerful choices that shape your life. What you truly need is a reliable inner compass that you can trust in any moment, under any pressure, and in the face of uncertainty. This compass becomes your steady guide, turning scattered thoughts into focused action and transforming hesitation into confident forward movement. Building this inner compass is simpler than most people realize. It begins with 3 timeless guiding questions that you ask yourself before every important choice. These questions cut through confusion, align your actions with your deeper aspirations, and ensure you remain accountable for the path you choose. The first guiding question is this: does this align with who I am becoming? This question invites you to look beyond the immediate temptation or convenience of a decision and connect it to your evolving sense of self. Who do you wish to become in the coming months and years? Are you aiming to grow into someone known for integrity, resilience, wisdom, or compassionate leadership? Every decision either supports that future version of yourself or pulls you away from it. When you pause and honestly evaluate whether a choice honors the person you are intentionally shaping, you avoid short-term gains that create long-term regret. For example, choosing to speak up with honesty in a difficult conversation may feel uncomfortable in the moment, but it aligns with becoming a person of courage and authenticity. In contrast, staying silent to avoid conflict might preserve temporary peace but erode the strong character you seek to build. By consistently returning to this question, you begin to make choices that compound over time, gradually sculpting your identity through deliberate action rather than drifting through life on autopilot. The second guiding question is equally powerful. Will this move me closer to the life I want to lead? This question shifts your focus from reactive living to purposeful direction. It requires you to hold a clear mental picture of the life you truly desire, not the one dictated by external expectations, but the one filled with meaningful relationships, fulfilling work, vibrant health, and a sense of contribution. Does the decision in front of you create momentum toward that vision, or does it lead you down a side path that delays or distracts from it? Consider a professional opportunity that offers higher pay but demands endless hours away from family and personal growth. If your desired life includes deep connections and balanced well-being, this choice may not move you closer. It might actually pull you farther away, despite the financial allure. On the other hand, investing time in learning a new skill or nurturing a key relationship, even when it feels slow, steadily builds the foundation for the life you envision. Asking this question regularly prevents you from confusing busyness with progress. It helps you say no to opportunities that glitter but do not serve your larger direction, and yes, to the quieter, steadier steps that accumulate into real transformation. The third guiding question completes the framework and grounds you in responsibility. If I make this decision, am I willing to own the outcome and adjust as needed? This question removes the fantasy of perfect choices and replaces it with mature acceptance. No decision comes with guaranteed success, and every path contains unknowns. True power arises when you commit fully, while remaining flexible enough to learn and pivot. Owning the outcome means refusing to blame external circumstances if things do not unfold as hoped. Instead, you stand ready to evaluate results honestly, celebrate what worked, extract lessons from what did not, and make the next right adjustment. This mindset frees you from paralysis caused by fear of mistakes. It encourages bold yet thoughtful action because you know you possess the inner resources to handle whatever follows. For instance, deciding to launch a new project or initiate a difficult conversation carries risk. But by affirming your willingness to own both the successes and the setbacks, you step forward with integrity and resilience. Over repeated use, this question builds unbreakable self-trust, the quiet confidence that you can navigate life's uncertainties without being crushed by them. To make these 3 questions a natural part of your thinking, begin with a simple practice. Write the questions clearly on a small card or piece of paper that you can keep in your pocket, on your desk, or near your bedside. Review them each morning as part of your daily preparation. When a decision arises, whether choosing how to respond in a conversation, allocating your time for the day, or weighing a larger life change, pause briefly and run through the questions one by one. At first, this may feel deliberate and somewhat mechanical, but that is exactly how any valuable skill develops. With daily repetition, the questions sink deeper into your mind. They become automatic, rising to the surface instinctively when needed. You will notice yourself evaluating options more quickly and with greater clarity without needing the physical card anymore. The framework turns random, emotion-driven choices into intentional ones rooted in purpose and self-awareness. Intentional choices, repeated consistently, create a life of genuine direction and accumulating power. Consider how this personal decision framework operates across different areas of life to appreciate its versatility. In your personal relationships, the questions help you respond with thoughtfulness rather than reactivity. When faced with conflict, asking whether your response aligns with becoming a more patient and understanding person prevents hasty words you might later regret. Checking if the interaction moves you closer to deeper, more trusting connections encourages empathy over defensiveness. And affirming your willingness to own the outcome allows you to apologize or adjust when necessary, strengthening bonds instead of damaging them. In matters of health and daily habits, the framework proves equally effective. Choosing what to eat, how to move your body, or how much rest to prioritize becomes guided by your vision of vitality and longevity rather than fleeting impulses. The questions gently steer you away from choices that undermine your well-being and toward those that build sustainable energy and strength. In professional or leadership contexts, the framework elevates your effectiveness dramatically. Leaders who consistently apply these questions make decisions that inspire confidence in others, because those choices reflect integrity and forward-thinking vision. A manager deciding how to allocate resources or address team performance will evaluate alignment with becoming a fair and empowering leader. They will assess whether the action advances the team's shared goals and collective success. And they will commit to owning results while remaining open to feedback and course corrections. This approach reduces regret, builds credibility, and fosters environments where people feel secure following decisive yet thoughtful guidance. Even in moments of high pressure or incomplete information, the 3 questions provide an internal anchor that prevents rash reactions or endless overthinking. The beauty of this framework lies in its simplicity and universality. It requires no special training, expensive resources, or external validation. It relies entirely on your own capacity for honest reflection and consistent practice, abilities that already exist within you and grow stronger with use. Many people spend years searching for complex strategies, or waiting for ideal conditions before acting. In reality, the most profound changes often stem from returning again and again to these fundamental inquiries. They strip away noise, clarify priorities, and reconnect you with your innate power to shape your path. As you integrate the framework into daily life, you may encounter moments when the answers feel uncomfortable or point toward difficult choices. Welcome these moments. They are signals of genuine growth. Discomfort often accompanies decisions that stretch you toward a better version of yourself or a more fulfilling life. Each time you apply the questions, you reinforce neural pathways of clear thinking and courageous action. Over weeks and months, what once required conscious effort becomes your default way of navigating the world. Random choices fade away, replaced by a steady stream of intentional decisions that build momentum, confidence, and visible results. Ultimately, your personal decision framework is more than a set of questions. It is a living practice that cultivates self-mastery. It transforms you from someone tossed by circumstances into the deliberate architect of your experiences. By asking whether a choice aligns with who you are becoming, you honor your potential. By checking whether it moves you closer to the life you want to lead, you maintain purposeful direction. By committing to own the outcome and adjust as needed, you embrace full responsibility and resilience. Together, these three questions form a reliable inner compass that works in quiet daily moments and in life's most pivotal crossroads. Begin today with small applications. Before your next meal, conversation, or task, run through the questions silently. Notice how even minor decisions gain new weight and clarity. Over time, as the framework becomes automatic, you will look back and see how one aligned choice after another has quietly reshaped your days, your relationships, your work, and your sense of self. You do not need perfection. You need only the willingness to pause, inquire honestly, and act with intention. The power of one decision, guided by this simple yet profound framework, multiplies into a life of direction, fulfillment, and lasting impact. The compass is yours to build and to trust. Use it well, and watch your path unfold with greater purpose and power. Chapter 6. The Cascade Effect. How one choice leads to the next one. Right decision rarely stands alone. It creates a cascade. Each choice makes the next one easier, clearer, and more powerful. The first decision builds confidence. The second builds evidence. The third builds identity. Soon, you are no longer hoping for change. You are living it. Start the cascade today with one deliberate choice in any area of life: health, relationships, work, or personal growth. Follow it tomorrow with another that supports the first. Watch how quickly small decisions multiply into visible results. The cascade is not magic. It is mathematics. 1 + 1, repeated with intention, becomes unstoppable. Imagine dropping a single pebble into a perfectly still pond. At first, the splash seems tiny and insignificant. A small circle forms around the point of impact. Then another slightly larger circle expands outward. Before long, the ripples reach the far edges of the water, touching everything in their path. That single pebble did not move the entire pond by brute force. It simply started a motion that continued on its own, growing in reach and influence with every passing moment. Your decisions work in exactly the same way. One well-chosen action sends ripples through the rest of your life, influencing thoughts, habits, opportunities, and even the people around you in ways that compound far beyond the original choice. The cascade effect begins the moment you commit to a single decisive step. Consider a person who decides, after years of hesitation, to wake up 30 minutes earlier each morning to move their body. On the first day, the alarm rings and they feel resistance, but they choose to get out of bed anyway. That single decision does more than add a short walk or stretch to their schedule. It creates a small surge of pride and accomplishment that carries into the rest of the morning. They feel slightly more energized, slightly more in control. Because of that energy, they make a slightly better choice at breakfast, perhaps choosing something nourishing instead of rushing for convenience. That better fuel sustains their focus at work, where they notice they complete tasks with greater clarity. By the end of the day, they have more patience in conversations at home. What began as one decision about the morning has already touched health, productivity, relationships, and emotional state. This is the beginning of the cascade. On the second day, the same person faces the alarm again. Because yesterday delivered a small victory, the choice feels a fraction easier. The confidence gained from the first decision now serves as evidence that they are capable of following through. Evidence is powerful because it replaces doubt with proof. Doubt says, "I never stick with anything." Evidence replies, "Yesterday I did, and today I can again." With that evidence in hand, they not only wake up, but also extend the movement session by 5 minutes. The extra effort feels natural rather than forced. The ripple widens. Better energy leads to clearer thinking during the workday, which leads to a productive conversation with a colleague that opens a new opportunity. One decision has now influenced career trajectory in addition to personal well-being. By the third or fourth day, something deeper shifts. The repeated choices start to reshape identity. The person no longer sees themselves as someone who struggles with mornings or consistency. They begin to see themselves as someone who honors their commitments to self. Identity is the strongest force in human behavior, because people naturally act in ways that match how they view themselves. Once the identity of a person who follows through takes root, decisions in other areas start to align automatically. They decline an unhealthy late-night snack not out of willpower alone, but because it no longer fits the emerging picture of who they are becoming. They speak up more confidently in meetings, because the growing self-image supports bolder action. The cascade has moved from external behavior to internal transformation. This process is not limited to health. The same principle applies to relationships. Suppose someone decides to send one thoughtful message each day to a loved one. Nothing elaborate, just a genuine expression of appreciation or encouragement. The first message feels a bit awkward, but the recipient's positive response creates an immediate ripple of warmth and connection. That warmth makes the second message easier to write and more sincere. Over days and weeks, the daily practice deepens the bond. Conversations become richer. Misunderstandings decrease because goodwill has been steadily deposited. Soon, both people begin making small supportive choices toward each other without prompting. One deliberate decision about communication has cascaded into a stronger, more resilient relationship. In the realm of work and leadership, the cascade is equally dramatic. A manager who decides to ask one open and curious question in every team meeting instead of jumping straight to directives plants a powerful seed. The first time, team members may seem surprised, but one person shares an idea they had been holding back. That idea sparks discussion and uncovers a small improvement in process. The next meeting, because people felt heard, they contribute more readily. The manager's own confidence grows from seeing real engagement. Over time, the team culture shifts toward collaboration and innovation. What started as one change in questioning style cascades into higher morale, better problem solving, and ultimately stronger results for the entire group. The leader did not overhaul the entire organization in a single day. They simply made one better choice repeatedly, allowing the natural mathematics of compounding to do the heavy lifting. The mathematics behind the cascade is both simple and profound. Small improvements or positive choices, when repeated consistently, do not add up in a straight line. They multiply. A 1% daily improvement does not feel impressive on any single day. Yet over the course of a year, the cumulative effect is transformative. Think of it as walking toward a destination. Taking one extra step each day seems trivial, but those extra steps eventually carry you far beyond where you would have arrived with average effort. Conversely, small negative choices compound in the opposite direction, creating distance from your goals almost without notice until the gap feels overwhelming. The direction of your cascade depends entirely on the quality of the initial and subsequent decisions. What makes the cascade accelerate is the virtuous cycle it creates. Each positive choice strengthens your capacity for the next one. Completing a small task builds mental momentum, which reduces the friction of starting the next task. Feeling successful in one area spills over into others, because the brain begins to associate decision-making with positive outcomes. This is why people who establish one healthy habit often find themselves naturally improving in unrelated areas. The strengthened sense of agency makes every future choice feel more possible. Confidence grows, evidence accumulates, and identity evolves until the new way of being feels like the only natural way. Of course, the cascade does not always move smoothly. There will be days when the next choice feels difficult. Energy may be low, circumstances may interfere, or old habits may tug strongly in the opposite direction. On those days, remember that the power lies in deciding anyway, even if the action is smaller than planned. A 5-minute version of your intended choice is infinitely better than skipping entirely, because it keeps the cascade alive. Breaking the chain of positive decisions creates its own negative ripple, making the following day harder. Protecting the chain, even imperfectly, preserves momentum. Over time, the habit of continuing despite imperfect conditions becomes one of your greatest strengths. Historical examples illustrate the cascade on a grand scale, though the principle remains the same for personal life. A single individual's decision to persist through repeated setbacks in invention or exploration often triggered chains of events that reshaped industries, societies, or knowledge itself. Closer to everyday experience, countless people have traced major life improvements back to one seemingly modest choice: the decision to read for 20 minutes each evening instead of scrolling on a device. The decision to listen fully in conversations rather than planning the next response. Or the decision to prepare the next day's priorities the night before. None of these choices transformed everything overnight, yet each set in motion a series of follow-on decisions and opportunities that compounded into meaningful change. To start your own cascade today, choose one area of life that matters to you. It could be physical vitality, deeper connections with others, progress in your career, or inner calm. Select one small, specific action you can take immediately. Make it so clear and achievable that hesitation has no room to grow. Write it down if that helps anchor it. Then commit fully to completing that single action before the day ends. Tomorrow, choose the next supportive step. It might be a continuation of the first, or something that naturally follows from it. The key is consistency of direction, rather than perfection of execution. Track your cascade, not by measuring massive leaps, but by noticing the small shifts in how you feel and act. After 1 week, review what has changed. You may notice increased energy, clearer focus, or a growing sense of possibility. After 1 month, the differences often become visible to others as well. After 3 months, the person you are becoming may feel noticeably different from the person you were when you began. This is the beauty of the cascade. It works quietly in the background, turning ordinary days into the building blocks of an extraordinary life. The cascade effect teaches a liberating truth. You do not need to overhaul your entire existence in one heroic moment. You only need to make one right decision, then another that honors the first, and another after that. Each choice lightens the load for the next. Each success adds evidence that you are capable. Each repetition reinforces the identity of someone who moves forward with intention. Over days, weeks, and years, these connected decisions create a life of momentum, purpose, and visible results. You already possess everything necessary to begin. The pond of your future is still and waiting. Drop the first pebble with conscious choice. Watch the ripples form. Trust the mathematics. One decision leads to the next, and together they carry you farther than you can currently imagine. The cascade is ready. All that remains is for you to start it today. Chapter 7. Decisiveness as the ultimate leadership skill. True leaders are not defined by how loudly they speak or how charismatic they appear in a crowd. They earn their position through something far more powerful and often quieter: the ability to decide clearly and act when others hesitate or waver. Decisiveness stands as the cornerstone of effective leadership because it transforms uncertainty into direction, doubt into momentum, and potential chaos into coordinated progress. When one person steps forward with a firm choice, it sends a ripple through any group, whether that group is a family gathered around the dinner table, a small project team facing a deadline, a large organization navigating change, or even an individual confronting personal challenges. Your capacity to make timely, thoughtful decisions builds trust among those who look to you, generates forward energy for everyone involved, and quietly establishes the behavioral standard that others begin to follow. Consider what happens in moments of ambiguity. Groups naturally look for signals of confidence and clarity. When a leader pauses indefinitely, weighs options endlessly without resolution, or shifts direction with every new piece of information, the people around them absorb that hesitation. Energy drains, morale dips, and progress stalls as individuals second-guess their own contributions. In contrast, the decisive leader cuts through the fog. They gather necessary information, weigh it against core values and goals, and then commit to a path. This act alone reassures others that someone is steering the ship with purpose. Trust grows because people sense reliability. They know decisions will be made, resources will be allocated, and efforts will align toward a shared outcome, rather than dissipating in endless discussion. Decisiveness proves especially contagious in any collective endeavor. One decisive individual in a group raises the overall standard without needing to issue commands or deliver motivational speeches. Others observe the pattern. Problems are addressed directly, opportunities are seized rather than debated into oblivion, and accountability becomes natural because choices have clear owners and timelines. In a family setting, for example, a parent who decisively sets boundaries around screen time or weekly routines creates stability that children internalize as normal. In a workplace project, a team lead who chooses a clear priority among competing tasks prevents scattered efforts and allows everyone to focus their best energy. Even when leading only yourself through personal goals, decisiveness prevents the internal drift that turns aspirations into forgotten wishes. The single decisive person models a way of being that invites imitation, often without conscious effort. The benefits of decisiveness extend beyond inspiration to tangible improvements in group performance. When a leader decides promptly, bottlenecks disappear. Projects maintain momentum because resources flow toward chosen priorities instead of lingering in debate. Team members experience reduced ambiguity, which frees mental energy for creative problem solving and execution rather than anxiety over shifting directions. Studies in organizational behavior have long suggested that environments with clear decision-making foster higher engagement, as people feel their efforts contribute to something directed and purposeful. Accountability strengthens naturally, since decisions come with ownership. The leader who chooses also stands ready to review results and refine the course if needed. This creates a culture where learning from outcomes replaces blame for imperfect predictions. Decisiveness also enhances problem-solving capacity at every level. Challenges arise constantly in any human endeavor, from minor daily obstacles to major strategic shifts. A decisive leader addresses them proactively instead of allowing them to compound. By choosing a response, even an imperfect one, the leader opens the door to real-world feedback that reveals what works and what requires adjustment. This iterative process turns potential setbacks into opportunities for refinement. In contrast, prolonged indecision allows small issues to grow larger while eroding confidence. The decisive approach maintains agility, enabling groups to pivot effectively when new information emerges. Importantly, decisiveness does not equate to stubbornness or a refusal to listen. The strongest leaders combine firmness in commitment with humility in evaluation. They invite input before deciding, listen carefully to diverse perspectives, and then synthesize that information into a coherent choice. Once made, the decision receives full support until evidence clearly warrants revision. This balance prevents the pitfalls of both authoritarian rigidity and democratic paralysis. It signals respect for others while preserving the forward motion essential to leadership. To develop decisiveness as a personal skill, begin with awareness of your own patterns. Notice moments when hesitation arises, perhaps during planning sessions, family discussions, or solitary goal setting. Identify the underlying causes: fear of error, desire for approval, or overwhelm from too many options. Awareness itself weakens the grip of indecision. Next, practice on smaller scales to build the muscle. Each day, select one area requiring a choice and apply a straightforward process. Clarify the desired outcome, assess available facts and potential consequences, consult trusted sources if time allows, then commit to a specific action with a reasonable timeline. Follow through fully, and afterward, reflect briefly on what unfolded. What information proved useful? What surprised you? How did the act of deciding affect your sense of agency and the responses of others? Over weeks and months, extend this practice to larger matters. In group settings, volunteer to propose a clear recommendation, rather than waiting for consensus to emerge organically. State your reasoning openly, invite discussion, and then guide the group toward resolution, rather than leaving the matter open-ended. Stand by the choice once agreed upon, demonstrating reliability, even if initial results require tweaking. Your consistency becomes a model that encourages others to adopt similar habits. Colleagues, family members, or team participants begin to mirror the pattern because they experience its benefits firsthand. Reduce stress, clearer roles, and shared progress. Decisiveness also strengthens personal leadership, the quiet governance of your own life. When you decide to rise at a consistent hour, pursue a meaningful skill, or address a lingering conflict, you reinforce your internal authority. Each right choice compounds, building self-trust that spills outward into every relationship and responsibility. You become someone others naturally turn to in uncertain times because your track record shows the ability to navigate them. Challenges to decisiveness will appear. External pressure, conflicting advice, or fear of consequences can tempt delay. In those moments, return to core questions that anchor sound judgment. Does this choice align with my deepest values and long-term aims? Will action here serve the greater good of those involved? Am I willing to accept responsibility for the outcome and adjust as reality unfolds? Answering honestly provides the clarity needed to move forward. Remember that perfect decisions rarely exist. Timely, principled ones usually suffice and often prove superior to prolonged waiting. Ultimately, decisiveness distinguishes leaders who merely occupy positions of authority from those who genuinely elevate the people and purposes they serve. It inspires trust by demonstrating care through action. It creates momentum by converting intention into reality. It sets standards by showing that progress favors the bold yet thoughtful. Whether your sphere of influence spans a household, a classroom, a company, or your private aspirations, cultivating this skill equips you to meet life's demands with steadiness and purpose. Practice this principle this week in a deliberate way. Identify one situation, large or small, where a decision is needed within a group or for yourself. Gather thoughts efficiently, choose a clear direction, communicate it with calm confidence, and follow through while remaining observant of results. Notice the difference it creates in energy, relationships, and outcomes. Your example, however modest, becomes a beacon that others may follow. In time, decisiveness evolves from an occasional effort into a natural expression of your character. This quality, honed through repeated application, elevates not only your leadership, but the collective capacity of everyone touched by your choices. It reminds us that leadership at its best flows not from charisma or volume, but from the quiet strength of one who decides when it matters most. Embrace it fully and watch how one person's commitment to timely, thoughtful action reshapes possibilities for many. The path forward opens precisely when you choose to walk it with resolve. Chapter 8. Refining Decisions Through Feedback and Adaptation. No decision is ever final in its first form. The moment you make a choice and put it into motion, reality begins to respond. Outcomes arrive as clear messengers, carrying information that reveals whether your initial direction was perfectly aligned or whether small corrections are needed. The wise decision maker understands this truth deeply and treats every outcome, whether it brings quick success or unexpected difficulty, as valuable information rather than a final judgment on their worth or intelligence. Success confirms that the chosen path holds promise and encourages continued movement in that direction. A setback, on the other hand, does not signal failure. Instead, it quietly points out where adjustments can sharpen the approach and increase the likelihood of better results ahead. Both kinds of outcomes become genuine gifts when you remain open, curious, and willing to learn rather than defensive or discouraged. This perspective transforms how you experience decision-making. Instead of fearing wrong turns or clinging rigidly to an original plan out of pride, you begin to see every choice as the beginning of a conversation with reality. You act, observe what happens, and then respond intelligently. This ongoing dialogue prevents small missteps from growing into major problems and allows promising directions to accelerate with greater speed and precision. The process is simple, yet profound. After taking action on any decision, large or small, pause long enough to ask yourself 3 clear questions in sequence. First, ask what worked well in the decision and its execution. Second, ask what did not work or fell short of expectations. Third, ask what you will do differently next time based on what you have just learned. These 3 questions create a natural loop of decide, act, review, and adjust that turns even the most imperfect attempts into reliable stepping stones toward mastery. Consider how this loop operates in everyday situations. Suppose you decide to improve your physical vitality by committing to a morning movement practice. You choose a specific routine and follow through for 1 full week. At the end of that week, you sit quietly and review. You notice that the first 3 days felt energizing, and you completed every session with ease. That part worked well. The timing in the early morning suited your natural rhythm, and the chosen movements left you feeling alert rather than drained. However, you also observe that by days 5 through 7, fatigue from the previous night's activities made it harder to maintain full effort. That element did not work as effectively. Finally, you ask what you will do differently. Perhaps you will adjust the intensity on busier days, or move the session 30 minutes later to allow better rest. With those insights, you refine the original decision and begin the next week with a slightly improved version. The decision was not abandoned. It was strengthened through honest feedback. This same refining process applies equally to decisions involving leadership, relationships, creative projects, or personal growth. A leader who decides to hold more frequent team discussions may discover after the first few meetings that while participation increased, certain quieter voices still remained unheard. The review reveals that the format worked for generating energy, but did not fully succeed at creating equal space for every contributor. The adjustment might involve adding a structured round-robin sharing method, or beginning each meeting with a brief written reflection that everyone submits beforehand. Each cycle of review and adaptation makes the next decision more effective, and demonstrates to the team that leadership values continuous improvement over perfection from the start. The beauty of this approach lies in its gentleness, combined with its power. Many people avoid honest review because they fear it will expose shortcomings and damage their confidence. In truth, the opposite occurs. When you treat outcomes as neutral information rather than personal verdicts, reviewing becomes an act of self-respect and strategic intelligence. You are not criticizing yourself. You are gathering data that only you can interpret and apply. This mindset frees you from the exhausting cycle of self-blame or unrealistic expectations of instant flawless performance. Instead, you develop a calm, curious stance that welcomes both victories and corrections as essential parts of the journey. Flexibility in this context does not mean weakness or lack of commitment. Quite the opposite. It represents one of the highest forms of strength. A rigid decision that refuses to adapt when new information appears often collapses under the weight of changing circumstances. A flexible decision, refined through repeated cycles of feedback, bends without breaking and grows stronger with each iteration. Think of a tree that survives storms not because its trunk is perfectly straight and unyielding, but because it can sway and adjust to the wind while its roots remain firmly planted in core principles. Your decisions gain that same resilient quality when you remain willing to adjust their form while preserving their essential purpose. Practical application of this refining loop requires only a few consistent habits. After completing any significant action tied to a decision, set aside a short period, even 5 or 10 minutes, for reflection. You might do this at the end of the day, the end of the week, or immediately after a key event. During this time, write down or speak aloud your answers to the 3 core questions. Be specific rather than vague. Instead of noting only that the meeting went okay, detail exactly which parts created engagement and which parts led to confusion or disinterest. Precision in review leads to precision in future adjustments. Over time, this practice trains your mind to spot patterns more quickly, so future decisions benefit from lessons learned in the past, without needing as much conscious effort. As you repeat the decide, act, review, adjust cycle across weeks and months, something remarkable begins to happen. Your confidence grows not because every outcome is perfect, but because you trust your ability to navigate whatever arises. You stop fearing mistakes and start viewing them as temporary course corrections that prevent larger detours later. This accumulated trust becomes a quiet inner resource that supports bolder decisions in the future. Where once hesitation might have paralyzed you, now a steady assurance emerges. You know that even if the first version of a choice needs refinement, you possess the process to improve it steadily until it delivers the desired results. The loop also cultivates patience and persistence, 2 qualities essential for anyone seeking meaningful change. Quick wins are wonderful when they occur, but most worthwhile achievements require sustained effort across time. The refining process honors this reality by breaking the journey into manageable segments. Each small adjustment keeps motivation alive because you can see tangible progress rather than facing a distant, unchanging goal that never seems to move closer. You learn to celebrate both the successes that confirm your direction and the insights that allow you to course correct. This balanced view prevents burnout and sustains long-term commitment. In relationships, the power of refining decisions through feedback becomes especially evident. Suppose you decide to become more present and attentive with family members. After a week of intentional effort, you review and realize that while you initiated more conversations, you sometimes still allowed distractions from devices to interrupt meaningful exchanges. The adjustment might involve creating a simple agreement to keep certain times device-free, or practicing a brief centering breath before engaging in dialogue. Each refined iteration deepens connection and demonstrates through actions, rather than words, that the relationship matters enough to warrant ongoing improvement. Ultimately, mastering the art of refining decisions through feedback and adaptation means embracing the truth that growth is an ongoing conversation between intention and reality. No single choice needs to carry the burden of being perfect forever. Instead, each decision serves as a living experiment that you get to observe, learn from, and improve upon. This approach liberates you from the pressure of needing to know everything in advance and replaces it with the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you can adapt intelligently as you go. As you close this chapter and return to your own life, carry forward the simple yet powerful practice. After every decision you make today or in the coming days, remember to pause and ask, what worked? What did not? What will I do differently next time? Then make the next refined choice with greater clarity and courage. In doing so, you transform the ordinary act of deciding into a masterful, evolving skill that compounds over time. The path ahead becomes clearer, not because every step is flawless from the beginning, but because you remain willing to learn and adjust with each one. This is how one person, through one decision after another, builds a life of purpose, influence, and enduring results. The power lies not in never needing to change course, but in having the wisdom and flexibility to refine the course until it carries you exactly where you are meant to go. Chapter 9. Building unstoppable momentum with daily decisions. Greatness is never born from one single heroic choice made in a dramatic moment. Instead, it emerges quietly through thousands of small, correct decisions carried out consistently, often when no one else is watching and no applause is near. These seemingly ordinary choices, repeated day after day, create the foundation upon which extraordinary lives are built. The person who masters the art of deciding rightly in the quiet hours of ordinary life becomes the force that shapes not only their own future, but also the world around them. In this chapter, we explore how you can harness the power of daily decisions to generate unstoppable momentum that carries you forward with increasing speed and strength. Consider the simple truth that every remarkable achievement rests upon a long chain of small decisions. The athlete who stands on the victory platform did not arrive there through one perfect performance. They arrived through countless mornings when they chose to train instead of sleep longer, through evenings when they chose to review their technique instead of seeking distraction, and through moments of fatigue when they chose persistence over surrender. Each of those decisions seemed small at the time, yet together they compounded into the momentum that carried the athlete to the top. The same principle applies to every domain of human endeavor. The leader who inspires a team, the parent who raises confident children, the creator who produces meaningful work. All of them built their results through the steady accumulation of right daily choices. You can begin this process immediately by establishing a clear morning decision. Each morning, before the demands of the day pull you in many directions, take a few quiet moments to decide upon one single thing you will complete that day. This is not a long list of tasks that overwhelms you. It is one focused intention that aligns with your larger aims. Perhaps it is completing a specific project at work, reaching out to strengthen a relationship, dedicating time to physical movement, or simply practicing patience in challenging interactions. By naming this one thing clearly, you give your mind and energy a definite target. Your attention naturally organizes itself around that decision, making it far more likely that you will follow through. When you wake up and consciously choose your primary focus for the day, you step into the role of the one who directs your own life, rather than reacting to whatever arises. In the evening, close the day with another powerful decision. Reflect briefly on what occurred and decide upon one specific way you will improve tomorrow. This might be as straightforward as choosing to listen more attentively in conversations, approaching a recurring problem with fresh creativity, or protecting your energy by saying no to unnecessary demands. The evening decision turns every day into a stepping stone rather than a repeat of the past. It prevents you from drifting through life on autopilot, and instead cultivates a habit of continuous, gentle refinement. Over weeks and months, these evening decisions create a natural upward spiral. You do not need to transform everything at once. You only need to improve one small aspect each day. The cumulative effect of these improvements builds momentum that feels almost effortless once it gains speed. To make this practice sustainable and effective, create a simple daily decision ritual that you can repeat every single day without fail. The ritual consists of 3 clear parts: one focus, one action, and one boundary. First, choose your one focus for the day, the single area or outcome that deserves your primary attention. Second, select one concrete action that moves you toward that focus. This action should be specific and doable within the day's available time and energy. Third, define one boundary you will honor, a clear limit that protects your focus and energy. This boundary might involve limiting time spent on distractions, declining certain requests, or setting aside protected time for rest and reflection. For example, your daily ritual on a given day might sound like this in your mind. Today, my focus is advancing my most important project. My one action is to complete the first section of the report. My one boundary is that I will not check messages during my 2-hour deep work block in the morning. By stating these 3 elements clearly each morning, you create a compact decision framework that guides your behavior without complexity. The beauty of this ritual lies in its simplicity. It requires only a few minutes, yet delivers powerful direction. Repeat this ritual daily, and it becomes an automatic part of your thinking, much like brushing your teeth becomes automatic through repetition. The consistency of the ritual itself generates momentum, because your mind learns to expect and prepare for decisive action every day. Momentum is the natural and inevitable result of making consistent right choices over time. Once you begin deciding daily with intention, you will notice several powerful shifts occurring. First, your confidence grows because each completed decision provides evidence that you can trust yourself to follow through. Second, your energy increases as scattered efforts give way to focused progress. Third, obstacles that once seemed overwhelming start to appear smaller because you have trained yourself to take one decisive step at a time. Fourth, opportunities begin to appear more frequently because a person moving with clear direction naturally attracts new possibilities. These shifts do not happen overnight, but they accelerate as the days accumulate. What begins as a small daily practice gradually becomes an unstoppable force that propels you forward even on difficult days. The person who decides daily truly becomes unstoppable. They develop a quiet inner strength that does not depend on external motivation or perfect circumstances. When challenges arise, and they always will, this person does not freeze in indecision. Instead, they fall back on their established ritual. They choose one focus, one action, and one boundary, and they move forward. This ability to decide, even in the face of uncertainty, separates those who achieve meaningful results from those who remain stuck in potential. Over years, the daily decider builds a life of substance and impact. Their relationships deepen because they consistently choose presence and integrity. Their work gains excellence because they consistently choose quality over speed. Their personal growth accelerates because they consistently choose learning over comfort. In every area, the power of accumulated right decisions creates results that appear almost magical to outside observers. Yet the process itself is straightforward and accessible to anyone willing to practice it. To deepen your mastery of daily decisions, incorporate gentle reflection into your evening ritual. After choosing your improvement for tomorrow, spend 1 or 2 minutes acknowledging what went well that day. Recognize the moments when you honored your focus, completed your action, or respected your boundary. This positive acknowledgement reinforces the neural pathways associated with decisive behavior, making future decisions easier and more natural. At the same time, view any missteps not as failures, but as valuable information. If you drifted from your focus, ask yourself gently what pulled you away and how you can protect your attention better tomorrow. This balanced reflection prevents self-criticism from draining your momentum and instead turns every day, successful or challenging, into fuel for continued progress. You can adapt the daily decision ritual to different seasons of life without losing its power. During particularly busy periods, your focus might be as basic as maintaining inner calm amid chaos. Your action might be taking 3 deep breaths before responding to stress, and your boundary might be protecting sleep by ending screen time at a set hour. During times of transition or growth, your focus could shift toward learning a new skill. Your action could involve dedicated practice time, and your boundary could limit negative influences that undermine confidence. The ritual remains effective because its strength lies not in rigid rules, but in the consistent act of conscious choosing. No matter what circumstances you face, the practice of deciding one focus, one action, and one boundary keeps you anchored in personal agency. As you continue this practice month after month, you will discover that momentum has a compounding quality similar to interest accumulating in a savings account. Small daily deposits of right decisions grow steadily larger in their effects. A single decision to exercise today becomes easier after a week of similar decisions. A single decision to listen generously in conversation becomes more natural after a month of choosing connection over distraction. Eventually, the person you are becoming feels noticeably different from the person you once were. You carry yourself with greater clarity and calm. Others notice your reliability and quiet confidence. Most importantly, you experience the deep satisfaction of knowing you are actively shaping your life rather than being shaped by it. Remember that building unstoppable momentum does not require perfection. It requires persistence in the face of imperfection. There will be days when you miss your focus, forget your action, or cross your own boundary. On those days, the most powerful decision you can make is the decision to begin again the next morning without harsh judgment. Self-compassion, combined with steady commitment, creates the healthiest and most sustainable form of momentum. Treat yourself as you would treat a valued friend who is learning a new skill. Encourage progress, learn from setbacks, and keep moving forward one decision at a time. The journey of daily decisions ultimately transforms how you see yourself. You stop viewing life as a series of overwhelming challenges and begin seeing it as a series of manageable choices. You become the one who decides, the one who builds, and the one who leads by example. This identity shift is perhaps the greatest gift of the practice. When you consistently make right decisions in private, you develop an inner authority that radiates outward and influences every relationship and responsibility you hold. You become a steady presence in an unsteady world, a source of clarity when confusion prevails, and a living demonstration that one person's committed choices can indeed create meaningful change. In conclusion, the path to unstoppable momentum lies not in waiting for inspiration or perfect conditions, but in the humble, repeated act of deciding well each day. Greatness is built in the unseen moments when you choose your focus, take your action, and honor your boundary despite fatigue, doubt, or distraction. These quiet choices stack like bricks in a strong foundation until the structure of your life becomes too solid to ignore and too powerful to stop. Begin this very day. Choose your one focus, your one action, and your one boundary. Repeat the process tomorrow, and the day after, and every day that follows. The person who decides daily becomes unstoppable, and that person can be you. The power is already in your hands. Use it, one decision at a time, and watch your life move forward with a force that grows stronger with every right choice you make. Chapter 10. Becoming the One. Crafting a legacy that endures. In the end, your life will be remembered not by what happened to you, but by the decisions you made when it mattered most. You become the one, the person who consistently chose courage over comfort, clarity over confusion, and decisive action over endless waiting. Your legacy is not a single dramatic event or an accidental outcome. It is built decision by decision, choice by choice, day after day. It lives on in the lives you influence, the standards you uphold, the character you demonstrate, and the quiet example you leave behind for others to follow. When you stand at any crossroads and feel the weight of uncertainty, make your next choice with this deeper awareness in mind. This decision is not merely for the immediate moment or the short-term gain. It is for the person you are becoming and for the lives you will touch, both now and long after you are gone. You already are the one. The power to shape your path and your impact has always resided within you. Start now. Decide with intention. Then decide again with even greater resolve. The extraordinary life you seek is waiting patiently on the other side of your next right choice. To truly understand what it means to become the one, consider how history itself has been shaped repeatedly by individuals who refuse to let circumstances dictate their course. One person, facing overwhelming odds, made a single courageous decision that rippled outward and altered the trajectory of nations, movements, and generations. Legacy is rarely loud or flashy. More often, it is the accumulation of thousands of smaller, seemingly ordinary decisions that compound over time into something profound. You wake up each morning and decide how you will greet the day, with resentment for yesterday's setbacks or with renewed commitment to today's possibilities. You decide how you will treat the people around you, with impatience or with patience and respect. You decide whether to honor the promises you made to yourself or to let them slip away under the pressure of convenience. Each of these choices, repeated consistently, sculpts the person others experience and the example they remember. The ancient philosophers understood this truth deeply. They taught that a well-lived life is measured by the quality of one's character and the virtues displayed through daily conduct. Wisdom, courage, justice, and self-control were not abstract ideals, but practical guides for decision-making. A person who cultivates these qualities does not wait for external validation or perfect timing. Instead, they focus their energy on what lies within their power, their own thoughts, responses, and actions, and release attachment to what cannot be controlled. This focus creates a steady inner compass that guides even the most difficult choices. Imagine applying this principle in your own life. When a relationship faces tension, you can decide to respond with calm inquiry rather than accusation. When a project encounters obstacles, you can decide to break it down into the next manageable step instead of giving in to overwhelm. When personal doubt creeps in, you can decide to reaffirm your core values and take one small action that aligns with them. These decisions may feel modest in the moment, yet they build the foundation of a legacy defined by integrity and resilience. Others notice. Children learn from your example. Colleagues respect your consistency. Friends draw strength from your steadiness. In this way, your influence extends far beyond your immediate circle. Becoming the one also means accepting that not every decision will yield the desired result immediately. Some choices will lead to setbacks or unexpected challenges. The mark of true mastery is how you respond to those outcomes. Rather than viewing them as failures, treat them as essential feedback that refines your judgment for the next decision. Ask yourself, what worked well in this choice? What assumptions need adjustment? What new information can I incorporate moving forward? This reflective process turns every experience, successful or otherwise, into fuel for growth. Over time, you develop an unshakable confidence born not from arrogance, but from proven competence in the art of deciding. Leadership at its core is decisiveness in service of something greater than oneself. Whether you lead a small team at work, a family at home, a community group, or simply your own daily life, the ability to make clear, timely decisions inspires trust and creates momentum. People are drawn to those who demonstrate calm resolve amid uncertainty. They follow the example of the one who chooses action aligned with shared values rather than popularity or short-term comfort. Your decisions become the standard others measure themselves against. In this sense, crafting a legacy is not a solitary pursuit. It is a ripple effect that elevates everyone around you. Consider the long view. Decades from now, when others reflect on your life, what will they say? Will they remember someone who hesitated at every crossroads, or someone who consistently chose the harder right over the easier wrong? Will they speak of a person who lived reactively, tossed about by circumstances, or one who lived proactively, steering deliberately toward a meaningful horizon? The answers to these questions are being written today through the decisions you make right now. This realization carries both responsibility and immense freedom. You are not a passive participant in your story. You are its primary author. To live as the one requires daily practice. Begin each morning by setting a clear intention for the day ahead. Ask, what is one decision I will make today that honors the person I aspire to become? It might be as simple as choosing to complete a challenging task first thing rather than delaying it, or reaching out to offer support to someone who needs it. Throughout the day, pause at decision points and apply your inner framework. Does this choice align with my deepest values? Will it move me closer to the life I want to build? Am I willing to own the consequences and learn from them? At the end of the day, reflect briefly. Where did my decisions serve me well? Where could I improve tomorrow? This rhythm, intention, action, reflection, adjustment, turns ordinary days into the building blocks of an extraordinary legacy. Challenges will test your commitment. There will be moments when fear whispers that it is safer to wait, when fatigue suggests that one small compromise will not matter, or when doubt questions whether your choices truly make a difference. In those moments, remember that the power of one decision lies precisely in its repetition. One choice to persist builds the strength for the next. One choice to speak with honesty strengthens your voice for future conversations. One choice to contribute generously expands your capacity for impact. The compound effect of these decisions creates a life of substance and meaning. Your legacy also includes the unseen influence you exert, the quiet encouragement you offer a struggling friend, the standard of excellence you model in your work, the patience you demonstrate when others are short-tempered, the integrity you maintain when no one is watching. These seemingly invisible choices often leave the deepest impressions. They become part of the moral fabric that others inherit and pass forward. In this way, becoming the one transforms you from an isolated individual into a link in a chain of positive influence that stretches across time. Ultimately, the extraordinary life you seek is not found in distant achievements or external markers of success. It is constructed moment by moment for the quality of your decisions. You do not need permission, perfect circumstances, or guaranteed outcomes. You only need the willingness to decide and to keep deciding in alignment with your highest vision for yourself and for the world around you. The power has always been yours. It lives in the space between stimulus and response, where you alone choose your path. As you close this book, carry forward this final truth. You already are the one. The extraordinary life is not waiting somewhere in the future. It begins with the very next decision you make. Choose courage. Choose clarity. Choose action. Then choose again. Your legacy is unfolding right now, decision by decision. Make each one count. Live as the one you are always meant to be, and watch how your choices illuminate the way, not only for yourself, but for everyone whose life intersects with yours. This single chapter, when lived fully, has the potential to redefine everything. Return to these ideas whenever you need reminding. The words are merely a mirror, reflecting the power already inside you. The real work and the real reward happens when you stand up, make your next decision, and step forward with unwavering commitment. The power of one decision belongs to anyone willing to claim it. Claim it today, then claim it again tomorrow. In doing so, you will craft a legacy that truly endures.